Homemade pastry, no matter how you make it, is always going to be better than store-bought pastry, believe it or not. So we're going to do a rough puff pastry because it's a lot easier than trying to muck around with puff pastry. But it's going to get the job done, and it's really impressive and it always tastes nice. Vegan, of course. So there's my cat hissing at my dog, having a standoff. They both want an early dinner, but their dinner is in half an hour. When our food comes out beforehand, they come to remind us not to forget about them. Oh my goodness. That's what happens when you love the animals. You get taken for a ride. All right, so we're doing 325 grams of flour. I've had this in the fridge, so you want to try and work with things cold if you can. And the product I'm using today is called this. It's just really what they had at the supermarket. We live in a small town. This is Nutmeat buttery flavor dairy-free spread, but I do know it's not margarine. Like, it's not hydrogenated. That's the word I'm looking for. So first off, we've got the flour. We're going to put about 1.5 teaspoons of salt. Okay, I'm just going to use my fingers and stir that around. And generally it's about 1-to-1, fat to flour. We're not too far off that. With our 325 grams of flour, we're going 300 grams of this butter. Now, so this is quite soft. So, and like I'm saying, it's even if it's a bit not quite how you wanted, pastry is good. Crumbly pastry, a little bit drier pastry, a little bit wetter pastry. It's all pastry, it's all yum because it's got fat in it. So I'm trying to just get chunks already out. It is very margarine-like. If you're using butter, you'd probably want it a bit firmer than this. But what I'm just trying to do is get my 300 grams. All right, 300. With my hands just going in. I'll try and be a bit quick and a bit gentle because this is not firm. It's quite soft, this vegan butter, so I suspect you might have the same issue. Coconut oil, you're going to be able to get it a bit firmer, obviously, but I think coconut oil is going to be tricky anyway. So it's just life. Okay, so we're just going to roughly mix this all together. We're not going to fully incorporate it. With this much vegan butter in, it's going to taste nice. No matter what happens. No matter what we do. All right, I think that's good. We just want it incorporated, but with chunks. Now, some are bigger than others, but that's okay. We just don't want it all incorporated. So I'm going to call that done. And then we're going to add our cold water, or iced water. A couple of ice cubes in there. Start with about 100 ml. Okay, it's quite doughy rather than pastry, but the fat is there. Okay, we do actually need some more water. I think it'll probably be easier to do this with a spoon. That's okay. This is going to be really easy to work with. Okay, this is way easier. Just put a bit too much water, but it's going to be a nice, easy and workable dough. Okay, so we're going to just leave it like that. All right. So this is really a trial. I think it's a bit wet, but I think I want to see how it comes out like this, wet. I want to put that in the fridge for 20 odd minutes, maybe half an hour. We'll see how that firms up. So here we go. Now, you might be wondering why I put so much water in the pastry if you know a thing or two about cooking. Well, I was looking at a lot of recipes online, and a lot of the recipes for the vegan pastry call for a lot of water. And just out of curiosity, I decided to just do what these recipes were saying and have more water than you normally would need. Now, by the looks of it, I don't think we really needed it. But that's okay. Like I said, that, you know, there's no such thing as bad homemade pastry. No such thing. And I just suspect that people that want to cook vegan pastry and they don't know and they go online, well, they're going to come across this problem themselves. So I just thought I'd do what everyone's probably going to end up doing anyway. But you want to have a generous amount of flour if you've got a wet dough. And what we're doing here is, I'm not explaining it because it's all on the video, but this is called laminating. And ordinarily you'd have layers of, like, you'd have a piece of butter and you'd be laminating it like that, but we're just folding it over and rolling, folding over and rolling. It's actually turned out really nice. And the good thing about adding all that water is it's just so easy to work with, and you can see the bits of butter in there. Now we don't want to overkill this, otherwise the butter starts coming out, and also it starts blending in with everything. So blending in with the dough. We do want pockets of butter, vegan butter. Okay, so this is all the lamination phase. But for me, I'm pretty happy with that. Just trying to avoid yeah, I'm totally happy with that. Might be a little bit too much flour, but this is easy to do with a nice soft dough like that. Just want it to get some shape. Yeah, there we go. So that's your dough. You can just put that in the fridge, wrap it up, put it in the fridge if you like, for whenever you need it. But for now, if you remember the nut meat that I made, well, I'm just going to play around with that. I'm gonna try and get a big rectangular dough here and put all the nut meat in and wrap it up. Wouldn't go so far as to say beef Wellington, but something like a giant sausage roll. I was going to make individual sausage rolls. Again, you know me. By the time I get around to doing these shows, I'm like, ah. Okay, so. All right. Okay, it's a little bit thick, but also to make life easy, you don't want it too thin. Again, you know, no one's going to complain about thick pastry. Everyone loves pastry. So there's no point trying to do everything super gourmet and perfect when everyone's going to like it anyway, if you do have the time and inclination. But this is about getting in the kitchen and getting the job done. So you're cooking on the regular. You want to make sure they're not going to stick when you start making things with this. Okay, now it's really starting to relax. It's a little bit thick around the edges. I always end up like that. Okay, isn't quite as firm as I'd like, but I think, yep, that's going to be fine. We're going to be able to roll that up. Take that out. This is our nut meat. Something like that. It's going to be a nut meat Wellington. We want to try and make it all even. Squash it up so it's like that. Let's give it a roll. That's perfect. And I don't think I want to even chop any of that pastry off. I know that's a bit of a faux pas, but no one's going to complain getting the pastry bit. I'm not. Are you?
Definitely not.
No. So we're going to just leave that. Ordinarily, you'd cut it off. I don't know what I'd do with just the end bits, so I'm just literally Okay, now I'm overworking it, but there, that's it. Okay, there's obviously tidier ways to do it, but again, it looks good. It doesn't look like super amazing. Once you put a bit of soy milk on that, when you bake it in the oven and so on and so forth, yeah, it's going to look nice. The other idea would be to chop those end bits of pastry off and cut out nice little shapes and put them on top, which I should do, but for the show, but nah, who cares about you? It's about me, and I can't be bothered. If you think about like vegan, like a beef Wellington, everyone's going to be impressed because it's like, oh, did you make that? Wow, blah, blah, blah. And you see how I just sort of threw it together, literally? That's kind of the idea. Just to get people cooking, and you can impress people, impress yourself. Just keeping things real basic and simple. That's it. Okay, stay tuned. We're going to cook it. All right, so it's Christmas time. We put the Vegan Wellington thingy in the freezer, and then we drove up to the city to celebrate Christmas at my parents' place. And so we thawed the pastry out, and then we popped it in a moderately hot oven, so about 200 degrees Celsius, which is about 400 Fahrenheit. Might have been a bit less, might have been a bit more. No, it might have been a bit less, actually. So yeah, I don't really... I kind of don't like giving people exact temperatures and times. Also, people's ovens are really different. Like our oven at home is probably, at a guess, about 10 degrees too cold if you set it to a moderate oven, which is where people do most of their baking. So the point of the story is you want to have the oven set to a baking setting, so there's heat coming from the bottom and the top kind of thing, or, you know, the fan where it circulates all the heat. And if you're baking pastry, we're talking vegan tips here, we can't put egg, right, because it's egg, as an egg wash over the pastry to get a nice golden color. You need to use oil. So for this one here, we took some photos. We didn't really want to film on Christmas Day with family around. It was just too, I don't know, we're just not into it like that, okay? So we took some sneaky little photos. I put extra virgin olive oil. I basically rubbed it over the top. I couldn't be bothered finding a brush. But so you want to use either soy milk, so brush on some soy milk or brush on some oil onto your homemade pastry, vegan pastry, to get that nice kind of browning color. So it came out, so it was probably in the oven for about 40 minutes, probably about 400 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know that oven at all. My mum pulled it out when she believed it was ready. But obviously you want a nice brown color, and the cool thing about pastry is you can go quite dark if you want to look at like French pastries, actual patisseries in France. You should have a look at that just to get some confidence in your baking, where I personally don't believe that like I could be wrong, but say a bread baker in France or a pastry baker in France, I'm not sure. If they're using a timer, they'll be using a timer because they're cooking a million things at once and they've got to keep juggling them. But I mean, if they were like making something at home, they just have a look at it. Often the smell will fill the room, and that's a good sign that says that it's ready. So they're all just tips, right? About the pastry itself, I added that lot of extra liquid, and it was a very soft dough. As you can see, I think we've got a photo of us having sliced it. The dough was only really crunchy on the edges where it was thick with the dough, but it wasn't really bready. You know what it reminded me of? I don't know if you have them wherever you live, but in New Zealand, it's like a pie that you get from the dairy in Australia from a servo, mate. Gas station pie. It's like a popular snack. Even, you know, celebrity chefs, you'll probably be able to catch them eating one because they just happen to be an on-the-go snack that everybody loves. Moral of the story is those pastries are like the pastry, I believe, is done with a very wet dough. It makes the pastry soft, because if you've got a pie sitting in a pie warmer for God knows how long they have them in the petrol stations and the service stations, they're going to dry out, right? So the point of my story is get amongst it, give it a go. There's no such thing as a bad homemade pastry. As long as it kind of looks like a cohesive mass before you roll it out and you cook it, it's going to be freaking delicious no matter how it comes out. And it really yanks my crank when, you know, watching these cooking shows and they say, you don't want to do this because it'll be like this. You don't want to do this. Well, you're not cooking for the queen. You're cooking to cook for yourself and your friends and your family. And all these restrictions and rules make the thing seem too stressful and over the top.
And what I'm saying is there's nothing worse than meeting someone that's impersonating Marco Pierre White in a trailer, in a food caravan or a food trailer. I can't stand that. Just be yourself, get amongst it, get cooking. Doughs and pastries should be relatively simple, and I hope that this kind of gears you up to make a nice festive pie, sausage roll, vegan, nut meat enclosure so you can have yum vegan pastry when you celebrate. So thanks so much. Take care.